Hi, top recap here. Today I am going to explain the American science fiction comedy film called Idiocracy. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. The premise of the movie is set in the year 2005. At the beginning of the movie, it is narrated that human evolution is at a turning point. Most science fiction theories predict that the future of humans is going to be more advanced, with smarter people. But because humans are already on the top of the food chain, their evolution takes a turn for the worse. People grow dumber with time. In such conditions, the U.S. Army librarian Corporal Joe Bowers is approached by his seniors, proposing him to be a part of an important experiment. Joe, who had planned to stay a librarian till retirement, is annoyed but he has to follow the orders. Then, we are taken to a private meeting between some high-ranking military officials. General Collins presents his ideas to the other officers. He says that the scientists have invented a human hibernation pod that can preserve human beings for an indefinite amount of time. It is so humans can preserve their finest men at their prime and revive them in the time of need. They have chosen Joe to be the first test experiment because he is the most average man in the military and has no immediate family. Chic then, but they see Dave a perfect fit in the military. Hence, Collins chooses a prostitute named Rita. He shows the officers pictures of him and Rita's manager upgrade partying together, making everyone in the room uncomfortable. He ends the presentation by saying that the subjects will be put into the pods tomorrow, and the experiment will go on for a year. Since the experiment is highly classified, the officials present in the room aren't allowed to share the information with anyone. The next day, Joe and Rita are together in a waiting room. Joe introduces himself and asks Rita what sector she is from. Not wanting to reveal that she is a prostitute, Rita says that she is a painter. Then, both of them are put on IV and into two human hibernation pods. Rita freaks out and tries getting up, but Joe assures her the scientists know what they are doing. He tells her they will only be inside for a year, so it will be perfectly fine. At last the two are sealed inside the pods. Hodgins is arrested in an attempted prostitution along with him. Upgrade is also arrested for being the ringmaster of a prostitution ring. Hence, now no one is there to look after the hibernation pods. Because of a scandal, the military base is closed and the building the pods are in is demolished. Joe and Rita lie dormant in the pod as the years pass. Although things look bad for the two, they are even worse for mankind. Humans begin to evolve stupider at a frightening. The chart of average intelligence goes downhill with time. Sun science wivake according this tin engineering of evolution, but the smartest scientists in the world are focusing on stupid experiments like trying to reverse hair loss and prolong erections. In the meantime, the population explodes and intelligence continues to decline until the year 2505. All these years, people aren't able to solve basic human problems like garbage disposal, so the garbage has been stacked for centuries with no plan whatsoever. This creates the Great Garbage Avalanche of 2505, and one day, a massive garbage landslide causes Joe's hibernation pod to end up in a random house. Joe gets out of the pod dizzy and confused. The person in the house is named Frito Bendijo. Frito completely ignores a pile of garbage and a stranger in his house and continues watching weird shows on TV. He only gets up to ask Joe to not make a noise. We see that his couch also has a toilet, so he wouldn't have to get up time and again. He then kicks Joe out of the window. The outside world seems confusing to Joe and he says to himself, so much has changed in just a year. But little does he know he has entered the year 2505. He sees a group of people by the side of the road who talk in slang and grunts. Joe is able to understand them, but when he speaks like his normal self, they call him slurs and chase him away. A confused Joe also feels dizzy, so he decides to go to a nearby hospital. There, he goes to the reception and tells her he is from the army. The woman doesn't understand anything and just presses one of many buttons on her desk. A voice asks Joe to proceed to the diagnostic area on the right. A made herb soup is immersed drink called a brondo instead of water. When Joe asks a bystander where he can drink water, the man laughs at Joe for wanting to drink something they use in toilets. It is revealed that everyone in the world uses brondo to bathe, drink and for daily activities, while water is only used in toilets. Then, he goes to the diagnostic area where he has to put plugs into his mouth, ear, and anus. The health professional mismatches the plugs that he already put into specific areas. A disgusted Joe completes the procedure and is sent to a doctor. While waiting, he sees the date 2505 written on a magazine, but dismisses it as a misprint. The doctor arrives and answers all of Joe's questions about his health with kick-ass. He also declares Joe retarded and asks him to pay a fee of $5 billion. Just then, Joe notices 2505 written on the. He finally realizes that he has actually been inside the pod for 500 years. Joe almost doesn't believe it and goes to the window only to be surprised to see the current condition of the city. Buildings are collapsing onto each other, and some are held together by ropes. In addition, the city is filled with garbage. Meanwhile, the doctor freaks out because Joe doesn't have a citizen tattoo on his wrist. Sight ni and real the Rome Tahomey, not paying his hospital bills. A voice narrates that Joe has woken up to a world in crisis. The economy is in deep neglect. A great dust bowl has ravaged all food supplies, and the #1 movie in the country is called as he goes to watch the movie that won Oscars, only to stare at someone's behind for 90 straight minutes. At night, he is arrested for being unscannable and taken to a court. Tifshio Pendio Vui at Zero Mountain. First in 2505, Frito makes fun of him as everyone in the court laughs. Joe presents his case sensibly and explains why he is unscannable, but the lawyers and judge just laugh at him. At last the judge declares him guilty and sentences him to jail. Meanwhile, Rita also comes out of the pod and is trying to contact her manager and boyfriend Upgrade. She is unsuccessful as the phone asks her for $2,000 to contact him. Just then, she is approached by a man who she tricks and gets his money. At the same time, Joe is taken to an automated tattoo place where the citizens are given the identification tattoo that makes them scannable. The machine asks him his name, but Joe starts to explain that he is not sure what is going on. Because of this, the machine reads his name as not sure and tattoos it on his wrist. The people around him also start calling him not sure. Then, he is taken to an amplitude and IQ test and asked questions about basic addition. Joe answers all of them correctly, and is surprised to see people around him not being able to identify shapes. After that, he is taken to the prison. He finally begins to realize that everyone in the current world is stupid. So, he tells the guard he is supposed to get out of jail today. The stupid guard lets him walk away, but the alarms catch that an inmate has ran away and the police chase him down the streets. Joe somehow gets away from them and goes to Frito's place again. He believes that someone has created a time machine within the past 500 years, and asks Frito's help in getting one. Frito doesn't agree on helping Joe, but Joe tricks him by saying that he will give him $8 billion for his help. Eventually Frito reveals that he knows where the time machine is. Just then, the police knock on the door looking for Joe. The two run away through the window and drive to the museum. On their way they meet Rita, who is still scamming the same guy. Rita gets in the car and is worried that Upgrade will come looking for the money she owes him. Still oblivious that he is already dead, as Sean's vesting top outside the notified of his location. Out of it right after, the police approach the car and fire at it. Soon, a bunch of people join and start to fight. Joe, Frito, and Rita run away in hopes of getting to the time machine. Joe then takes the two to Costco, which is now the center of all trades. He even claims to have studied law in Costco. As they wait for the metro, Rita goes to the bathroom. Before she returns, Joe's wrist is accidentally scanned and the whole place is alerted of a criminal's presence. The metro arrives and Frito gets on it, but Joe waits for Rita, only to be caught by the police. However, this time, he is taken to the White House instead of prison. There confuses Aaron-Ertz, the president. Camacho makes fun of him, saying that he thought Joe's head would be bigger because he is smart. It turned out that the IQ test Joe took in the prison surprised everyone because he had the highest IQ they had ever seen. Hence, because of his intelligence, the president makes Joe the new Secretary of Interior. To Joe's surprise, they also declare him the smartest man in the world. Everyone then goes to the House of Representatives, where the president announces that the problems of food scarcity and dust storm will be solved by their new Secretary of Interior, Mr. Not Sure. He also promises to pardon Joe's prison time if he solves the problem. Our tester Cassette me says oid wing smart. Joe says some random complicated words, making them believe that he is in fact smart. Then Joe asks Frito to draw a map of the location of the time machine until he distracts the secretaries. Later, he takes them to a field where crops are supposed to be grown. He also asks them to get Rita because she might be able to help them with the crops. Now, everyone is at the field where Frito secretly hands Joe the map. At the same time, Rita arrives there. Joe takes her aside, planning to run away using the map, but his plan fails when he sees that Frito's map is just a line. Then, Joe realizes that people have been watering the crops with the energy drink Brondo. He holds a cabinet meeting to start using water instead of Brondo. The secretaries think his idea is atrocious, so, instead of reasoning with them, he simply tells them that he can talk to the plants, and they want water. Joe is unknown that the energy drink had caused salt to develop over topsoil, which killed plants and caused the dust storms. Hence, he is actually solving their problems. For a few days everything goes as planned, but soon, the energy drink Brondo's stocks drop to zero because of the decreased production. This leaves half the population unemployed. They riot outside the White House. The news announces that Joe is taken to court for making people unemployed and is proven to be guilty. He is sentenced to 1 night in rehabilitation. Ethanol is chased by a large Attribution arena as a crowd of audience cheers for the truck. The rehabilitation mostly ends with the criminal's death. Joe is taken to the arena while Rita sadly returns to the White House, ready to go to the time machine with Frito. The rehabilitation is broadcasted on national television. Joe is chased by a massive killing Turk as he drives around in a small car. Just then, Rita notices a rose plant growing outside. She realizes that Joe's idea to water the plants had worked and asks Frito to take her to the arena. She plans to broadcast the crops on the television so Joe's punishment would be pardoned, mean the death till time to save his. Rita reaches there on time and bribes a cameraman to go with Frito and film the growing crops. She then goes to the monitoring room and takes over the control panel. Frito finally gets to the field and films the crops. The clip is broadcasted on the large screen. Seeing this, President Camacho saves Joe from being killed and pardons his punishment, making the crowd erupt in cheers. Now, everyone is at a frat party in the White House. Rita reveals that she doesn't want to return home because she likes the future better. Joe is surprised but doesn't force her to come with him. The two say their last goodbye, but before Joe leaves, the president calls him on the stage and declares him the new vice president. Everyone looks at Joe with hopeful eyes, making him agree to stay in 2505. Then, one person calls the time machine a stupid ride. Frito takes a confused Joe to the machine and it is finally revealed that the time machine is actually a children's ride. The Sarchipermonto late, when Joe states and Rita becomes his wife and the first. Under his leadership, a new era dawned and people hoped that humans could once again be smart. He even has 3 kids with Rita, who are said to be the smartest kids in the world. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on the notification, and leave a like to help. the channel out. Thanks for watching. To help the channel out. Thanks for watching. To help